Hello, welcome to are you hear me okay? Okay. Everyone hear me? No, Jason, you're not hearing me?
No, I'm not hearing you. Sorry.
um,
Now I
awesome.
hear
Thank you.
you.
Now you hear me? Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had some problems with my mic this morning, so I wanted to check. Audience, thank you so much for joining us here today. The chat is now wide open for you. Audience, go there and let us know where you're calling from. We love to hear from you and to see the global footprint of our community. My name is Eduardo. I am calling from New York City. I'm from Brazil, but I live in New York City, and I am a marketing manager here at Modern Sales Pros. And we are here today to talk about spring into action, commission strategies that unlock revenue potential. And we have the two of the brightest minds in the business here. So, audience, you are in for a treat. Let me share my slides in here. So, this is the title of our event today. And as I mentioned, I am from Modern Sales Pros, and we are the world's largest and finest community for more than 35,000 members. Can you imagine? And our members are in sales management, leadership, operations, and enablement. We are all about taking the road less travel and bringing you audience along for the journey. And we do this through live sessions like this one you're about to experience. We have a robust online forum. We have summits every quarter, and now we're expanding for an array of in-person events. And talking about in-person events, we have a happy hour coming up in Las Vegas next week. I just dropped a link in the chat audience so you can check and register for that event next week. And we also have amazing partners. You see the partners right here in the screen. Um, if you're not part of MSP yet, you will receive an invitation if you qualify for the community right after this event. So let's talk about this event here, how to get the most out of it. So please use the Q&A panel. I was talking with the speakers backstage and they said they love answering questions. So please use the Q&A panel. We will record your questions. If we cannot get to them live today, they will be answered via email or LinkedIn. And also, this event is being recorded. So audience, you will be able to access the recording for this later today. The MSP team will send you an email. All right, so let's get our speakers introduced here. I have Will and Jason from Exactly. Will be our moderator. So Will, you can take it from here. The mic is yours. You can introduce yourself and then ask Jason to introduce himself, and then you can start the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Eduardo, for the very kind words. I don't know if I would say I'm one of the the brightest minds in the world on this particular topic, but I would say Jason is, and so I'm glad that he's able to join me today.
Glad someone
Again,
does.
and great. And thanks everybody for joining us. Really excited to talk about this really important topic. I'm Will Waters. I lead product marketing here at Exactly. And Jason Rothbaum on our team is a senior principal at Exactly, has joined us today for this really engaging conversation about, how to spring into action and unlock that revenue potential through your commission strategies. And so this is going to be more of an interview type format. So obviously, as we go through some of the content, we have this discussion. Welcome questions, comments, feedback, all engagement. We can I'm already seeing the kind of chat bubble pop up a couple times. So excited to see more of that. So feel free to kind of reach out throughout the session. So Jason, let's go ahead and get kicked off. I thought it'd be helpful to start this conversation kind of from the starting point, right? So why are compensation programs so critical to a business? So why should people be thinking about these compensation programs?
For sales, it is it's a principle of ROI. Okay, if you can picture any other role in the company being paid incentive, can you imagine finance being paid up to 50% of their pay for how well they accrue? It doesn't happen. Only salespeople are doing this. Salespeople have a unique role in that they are putting their ability to influence a purchasing decision on the line. And they're willing to bet 50% of their pay, 60, 70%, a large portion of their pay on their ability to influence that outcome. Okay, what's in it for them? Their ROI is if they beat your number, they earn more than they were targeted for. The company's ROI is sales growth. They're taking money, reallocating money from low performers to high performers so that they can drive more influence. They're buying people with influence. so that they can have sales growth. So that's why it's critical. We're doing this because there's actually revenue involved. There's growth involved in doing this. Doing it the right way always helps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Stephen. And I thought one of the other kind of sub questions I had was kind of talking about the motivations that go into it. So when you kind of design these plans and we're kind of designing your program, doing it with the motivations and the behaviors that you're looking to drive in mind. Maybe talk a little bit about that and how we're seeing that play out with some of our customers that are doing this in a great way.
Well, I'll be controversial and say that I'm more interested in getting outcomes. Compensation is not about paying people. Sales comp, at least, is not about paying people. We're not trying to be fair. We're all being greedy. The company's being greedy. Salespeople are being greedy. And I don't want to get more behavioral sciences into this, but there's expected outcomes for the money we're paying to the reps. We want growth. For the money that the reps are getting, they're hoping to beat your number based on the risk they're taking. So the types of behaviors we're looking for, well, we're looking for greedy people.
Fair enough. And so as we kind of think about the design, maybe less about the motivations, but also some of the different types of programs and mechanics that we see play, maybe walk me through some of these. And I know we had a builder in this slide, so it kind of we're not bearing the lead at all here, but maybe walk us through some of those different types of programs that you've seen and then go into the mechanics.
All right. Base is the blocking and tackling. Base is what you pay people almost as a retainer. Show up to work, do the things that we're asking you to do, sell the way that we're asking you to sell, input into the CRM, be presentable when you show up to meetings. Base salary covers the basics. Commission, that is what we said. It's reallocating pay from those that don't generate sales growth to those that do. If you start putting commission money towards things that are covered by base, like show up to meetings, the number of meetings you attend, or paying people for inputting into the CRM, well, then you're lowering the rate of return. You're not paying for sales growth anymore. You're paying for things that base covers. A commission plan is a specific type. There's a commission-based plan, which is a percent of revenue, and there's a quota-based bonus plan. The commission plan is percent of revenue. Quota-based bonus plan is having a target incentive for achieving a target performance. You typically will see that as a percent. So for every 1% of quota, you get 1% of your target pay. Spiffs and contests, those are short-term. Spiff has one F, Special Purpose Incentive Fund, and they are, well, we're in spring now, so it is the season of spiffs. They're typically used as Band-Aids. Give you an example. We just launched our plan in December or January. It was a squeaky, shiny new plan that aligned to strategy. Now we're done with the first quarter. We look at our results. Some things didn't quite fit. We're not going to change the whole comp plan at this point. Let's use a spiff, a short-term contest or a short-term reward to try to band-aid the gaps where our commission or bonus-based plan didn't work. I would add a third type of compensation to this, or a fourth type, fifth type, whatever it is, recognition. Base covers the blocking and tackling. Incentive plans cover the reallocation for sales performance. Spiffs cover the short-term incentives. Recognition is a different type of compensation. Recognition, no one could hold up their W-2 and say what a great rep they are. Okay, recognition is a public accolade of great performance, and it works incredibly well at retention. If you have a great rep who's never getting recognized, you have a problem with churn. Those are the different types of compensation programs. The mechanics, that's for people like me. Those are the engineers of compensation plans. Little terminology. I'm a wonky person, so that this is the type of stuff this is the language I speak in.
Yeah.
Like I'll go into a bar and I'll start talking about thresholds, modifiers, and tiered payment systems, and I'm the life of the party. A multiplier, a multiplier is an increase in a commission rate. A multiplier would be, let's say you go over 100% of your quota, you get a multiplier on your rate. Tiered generally talks about the increases in pay below quota. It's a type of multiplier, but it's usually geared specifically towards under quota performance. Between 0 and 60%, you get paid 3%. Between 60 and 100, you get paid 5%. Sometimes we'll call it kinked quota plans. Thresholds are a minimum performance level. Those are a minimum performance before you get paid. The uses of multipliers, tiers, thresholds, the first three are really a reflection of your quota setting accuracy. If you have great quotas, why would you want to pay someone below 80% of their performance, below 90%? I dealt with Sony Consumer Electronics a few years ago. They knew 5 years in advance how many PlayStations would hit Best Buy. Why would you ever pay anyone for coming in below 95%? So a threshold is a minimum performance level. Tiered, you have some sense of your quota setting ability. You know that you want to move the middle performer, start increasing pay at 60% or 70%, somewhere in there. A multiplier, generally that's just saying quotas mean something to us. We don't have great quota setting ability, but we want to pay you more if you hit our number. So each of those first three are reflective of company-specific quota setting strategy. The last two, that's the cool stuff for me. A modifier, that's going up or down in commission. Let's say that you want to pay people off of revenue, but you also want them to keep an eye on margin, list price. Okay, if you get above our list price, we'll pay you more. We'll modify your pay up. If you get below our list price, we'll modify it down. If you really want to get technical, a multiplier is a subsection of modifier, but modifiers go up and down. Decelerators, the most popular people on earth are the ones who put in decelerators in the plan. Just a little secret for those listening. I had locks on my door when I was in-house as a sales rev officer. If you have a problem with explosive payouts, people who hit 200% of their quota, you can be incredibly unpopular and put a cap in the plan, but the more appropriate way to do things is slow it down. We're still going to pay you. Keep selling, but we can't pay you as much. Congratulations, you hit 200%. But past a certain point, we set a bad quota. So we have to slow it down. We're not going to pay you 0, but we're going to pay you something, but we can't pay you that supercharged multiplier above 100.
Yeah.
Now, all of this is to say that we're in the season to start analyzing the plans. How did they do Q1? I think all of the things on the right are fair game to start including into the plan as adjustments. The stuff on the left, except for a spiff, you probably can't touch.
Yeah, interesting points too. And I guess one of the other things is I hear you talk about this. I think a lot of it needs to be reconciled with like your unique business model, your unique go-to-market motion. As you mentioned, there's a lot of accelerants out there or decelerants. And so you need to make sure that you're setting appropriate quotas to make sure that all of those things reconcile together. So I don't know if you had a quick thought on how do you kind of bridge those two things together? How do you create the right compensation program aligned with your go-to-market model?
Now, there are some things that you're constricted with. I always say that your commission level, your base level, those are largely reflective of market conditions. You're not going to recruit people if you want to pay below base or below on incentive. But there's certain things that are under your control, and that's how you design how they get paid. That's all the stuff on the right.
Right.
So it's a lot of it's going to be driven by market, your pay level, even your mix to a certain extent, the percentage of base and the percentage of incentive in your total pay. A lot of that's going to be market driven, depending on your industry. You want to recruit people, you want to keep them, unless your specific company strategy is to be the minor leagues, train them and let them leave. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's at least reflective. That decision is reflective of market drivers. Now, your multipliers, your tiers, your thresholds, modifiers, decelerators, that's your company specific business strategy. For example, you could have a competitor that has awesome information and is great at setting quotas. They'll put a threshold in. You don't have this great market knowledge. Okay. You have to pay from $1. It's your company specific restriction and your company specific strategy.
Yeah. No, that's super helpful. And so I know we've got a couple questions in the chat here. So I think one from Glenn is how do you handle that relative to an annual contract? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what you mean by. I probably was flying off the handle there.
Okay.
So Glenn, if you could type in, you mentioned things on the right are acceptable to change mid-year.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not quite mid-year, but we're approaching it for a lot of companies. And I consider things like adjustments to your over-quota performance, adjustments to under-quota tiering, decelerators in the plan, acceptable. Nuclear options are adjusting quotas up, adjusting quotas down. Nuclear option would be stripping the plan completely, and rather than adjusting it, recasting it completely. You can do that in certain industries with certain companies. You're not going to be overly popular, but you can do that. With most companies, though, where churn is a real risk for people, you probably want to do it minor stuff mid-year. Stuff like the overquota acceleration. If you're on an annual plan, you have to figure out mitigation strategies for making those that are trending above quota, whole, that sort of thing. So I don't know that there's any red line for what's acceptable and what isn't, but there are certain lines I'm not willing to go over.
Yeah.
I hope that helps, Glenn.
Cool. Helpful. So let's kind of get to the crux of the meeting today. So as you mentioned, heading into almost the first half for a lot of businesses, first quarter for some, we have this concept of analyzing the plan, analyzing the performance of the plan. So maybe walk me through. I know you put this together. Keen to hear kind of you walk us through the steps that you would go to as you analyze your plans after a certain period.
Perfect. We're approaching the beginning of June. This is a time where if you are an owner of a comp plan, if you're a stakeholder in a comp plan, you're going to start asking some questions. Is it working the way we want? Is it driving the strategy? For example, we have a certain measure that we wanted 20% of pay to go out on. How is that looking? Is it only trending towards 3%? Do we have a dead measure in there? Are people achieving the pay mix that we wanted them to? If we were targeting a 50-50 pay mix, meaning 50% of their pay was coming from incentive, 50% was coming from base, how is that working? Are we completely off? Do we have some people at 100% base and some people at 90% incentive? What's the range? Is it where we planned? I will tell you, if you're not asking these questions, finance will. My office sat next to the CFOs in most companies I've worked at because they would walk in and say, are we trending towards where we design? Are we minimizing financial exposure? What does that mean? Are we trending towards explosive payouts? If I'm on a quarterly plan, did a lot of people blow out their plan in Q1 and Q2 and blow out their pipeline, and we're forecasting them to come in at zero for the rest of the year? Is there a danger that we're going to come in way over budget, but come in under our sales forecast? Right? We're expected to have answers if we have a stake in the plan. How do the reps feel about it? Are they saying that these plans are the greatest things since sliced bread? Well, I'll say the ones that are above quota will. The ones that aren't are probably not at that point. But are they feeling motivated? If they're at 60% plan, or sorry, if we're 60% year to date on plan, they're going to be motivated. If you're at 10%, how are we keeping them in the game? If we're halfway through the year and they're trending towards a horrible year, are they disengaging? Are they sandbagging? How are our plans functioning to motivate people? Right? And at this point, we're gathering inputs, either to revise the plan end of the year or to tell people at least what the strategy is to revise the plans where we want them. What inputs are we gathering? Are the plan weights correct or close enough? Are the payout curves that we created accelerating some people too much? Are we creating too much financial risk? How are our quotas? Did we nail it on 4 regions but completely miss it on another? If we did, why? Start getting some answers. I know I'm on a tirade and on my soapbox here, but this morning I was talking to a company and they said, we're trending towards an explosive payout. Our comp plans are busted. Well, that's a bold statement to make in May. Why? We don't know. Okay, let's dig into it. First thing I asked, are some type of reps doing very well? They said, yeah, our tenured reps are hitting towards quota. Okay, what about your new reps? They are blowing it out. They're all on ramps, and they are completely hitting about 300% of their pay. I'm no rocket scientist, but maybe we should look at your ramp plans. Find out where your risk is. Find out where it's working and where isn't. It's important to do this mid-year. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now, Will.
No, that's great and super helpful. And I think it's a good segue into kind of, let's talk a little bit more about what are some of these ideal measures. So like, what are some of the things you used one example previously in your previous example. So maybe just talk us through, in your experience, what you've seen, what makes most sense. And obviously I have a couple here for examples, and if there's any additional guidance that you want to throw in here.
All right, I'll use your slide as a basis. Volume measures are almost 100% in every compensation plan. Volume measures are your lead-in. So a volume measure would be revenue, would be EBIT, margin. If it's based off, if you could sell volume even at a discount, that is a volume measure. People are surprised that I put margin in there. I bet I'm going to look at the comments and start seeing them flow across. How could you put margin and volume? It's a quality measure. No, it's not. Volume and margin. I did a study when I was with Deloitte. We found that they are low 90% correlated, because someone, if they're measured on margin, could always discount and just sell in quantity and make margin dollars. Quality is sometimes in compensation plans. I'm a huge proponent of all the time. Quality is something like margin percentage. Okay, I get this question all the time. How do we drive both top line and bottom line? Well, measure on revenue dollars and have a modifier for margin percentage. Huh? What does that mean? Okay, measure them on revenue dollars. That's a volume metric. Sell more, get paid more. But we're going to lower your commission if you get a lower margin percentage. That's a quality of sale. We're going to raise your commission if you get a higher margin percentage. That's quality, isn't it? Let me take it out of the field sales role. Let's do it with lead gen. Number of leads, volume. Sales qualified leads, quality. Or lead gen volume. Did they make it to the next step in the the sales funnel. Quality. Did you give quality leads that they can advance? Okay, collaboration. You meant like team measures there, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Multiple reps on a deal or something along those lines.
Okay, I'll say that if you sell as a team, if you sell as a village, you pay a village. I'll say that is specific to the sales process. And I'll say that volume, always, quality, sometimes, collaboration when necessary. I don't know. I think that is a that's a sales specific type of role. Lead referrals are sometimes in the plans. Team measures of volume, of quality. So I'll say sometimes in the plans. Future focused. That to me sounds like pipeline. Sales objectives, selling stones, stepping stones. There are specific cases where you use those. I'm not going to be one of those truly anal people and say that you should never use MBOs in plans. Well, no. I dealt with the company 20 years ago that did the O-rings for the space shuttle and for the for deep sea oil rigs. Those took a 5-year sales cycle, and you can imagine just paying them out on RevRec. They wouldn't be able to pay their mortgage. They'd go hungry. So there are situations where you would use KSOs, MBOs. I would say that the key rule is if you're paying out on something, have you paid out on an activity that has significantly increased the probability of a sale? But I'll say, if I go always with volume, usually with quality, sometimes with collaboration, rarely with future focused.
Got it. No, that's super helpful, and I appreciate all the different examples. Just interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and spin through. I think we've got one last slide specifically talking about the plan assessments, and so maybe you can just kind of walk us through some considerations. I know there's a bunch of stuff on the slide here, but maybe call out some highlights here for what you would add in your checklist for assessing the plan.
All right, let's start at 11 o'clock at eligibility. Whenever I work with our clients, whenever I work with in an engagement, a consulting engagement, I have a checklist, and it's actually a red light, green light, yellow light checklist. And I'm a consultant. What can I say? And I'll go through the checklist and identify where we are with each job role. So eligibility for this job role, do the eligible employees for the compensation plan have direct influence over the sales outcome? Okay, a lot of words there. We are paying, the whole purpose of sales comp from a company's perspective is to reallocate pay from those who don't do well, who don't exhibit influence over the sales decision, to those that do. So if your primary job role is not influencing a purchasing decision, you shouldn't be eligible for sales comp. Sales leaders love adding people to sales comp to get them more money. And they'll say that, we all rise together. My response immediately is we all sink together. You want to give people sales comp if you can redistribute pay from those who influence from those that don't influence to those that do. Okay, so let's go around the circle. I know we're brushing up against the clock here. Plan measures. Are measures aligned with your business priorities? With the slide we just went through, do you have a volume measure? Do you need a quality measure? Are measures under the direct control of salespeople? If you measure a rep on worldwide sales, you are wasting money because they don't impact worldwide sales unless you have one rep in your org. They have to have an impact on it, otherwise it's profit share. Because once again, we want to reallocate money from those that don't influence to those that do. If you're measuring on worldwide sales, you don't have a level of influence over that. It's a waste of money. We want to generally say we have 3 or fewer measures. I don't know about that. I hear that all the time. How many measures is the right amount? I'll phrase it like this. You should have 3 primary measures, and then a bunch of I don't know, side order measures. We want 3 measures on what you order for the main dinner: volume, quality, and product. Those, overall revenue, product 1, product 2, and then you can have some side measures like did they sell training? It's not a primary strategy, but if they did, we want to pay them. We'll pay them. We'll target 5% for that. Did they sell services? Okay, those we want to pay them for. So that 3 or fewer is a soft line. What do we got next? We got motivational. Let's go to let's go like this. Incentive mechanics. Incentive mechanics. If you have people who are selling on an annual basis, or they have a long sales cycle and they have maybe 3 or 4 sales per year, they're lumpy, why would you pay them monthly? I put incentive mechanics as the common sense types of things. Are they getting sales credit when they've done what you've asked them to do? I get this all the time. It's really freaky. We're giving them, you get paid when we get paid. Well, you have a 6-month implementation window, and by then the rep has even forgotten what they sold, right? So pay them on the contract. Okay, if you have customer churn, if you have people canceling, okay, inflate the quotas a little to account for that, but pay them when they've done what you've asked them to do. Payout curves are doing what you want them to do. If you want to move the middle performer, are the payout curves designed to do that? Do they have a kink or a tier? Rather, we'll use our language now. A tier to move the middle performer. Are you paying competitively to market? Is your overperformance sloped properly? Okay. Are you paying a commission plan if you have a base of business? Well, wait, if you have a renewal base, why are you paying a commission on that? If you come in at 50% for one person and you have a base of business and a renewal rate of 90%, why are you paying them? Common sense things. We'll move around, having fun, playing like this. Anyone following at home?
Let's maybe cover one more, and then we'll wrap up here because I know we're a couple minutes over the time.
Oh, I see that. I'm sorry. Let's do risk mitigation, the most important one that people don't do. Have you modeled the plans? Have you looked and say that the planned payout is as a percent exactly where we wanted it to be based off our sales? If it's too high, what did we do wrong? If it's too low, why are we underpaying? Do you have windfall protection in place? Do we have governance processes that are well understood by everyone? Do we have clear comp plans so that people don't sue us constantly? Doesn't happen as much anymore. We generally now reach out to legal, but I'll still get every once in a while the sales leader who will write the comp plan in Excel without any T's and C's in them, and they'll wonder why they're constantly in court. So, any case, that is why we assess plans, and that's the scorecard that I generally look at. Will?
Yeah, no, appreciate that. I know this is a meaty subject, and so I really appreciate all the detail that you've thrown in there. I guess one last thing that I'll say to the audience, if you do ever want to speak to Jason more about some of these concepts, it would be remiss to not highlight that Jason will be hosting a session at our annual user conference, Exactly Upside, next week. And we're also obviously looking to deliver more sessions similar to this as we move forward. So please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, ask questions. Happy to talk through them as well. And so finally, I'll give kind of my 30-second plug on Exactly here. Now that we've kind of talked through all the value in kind of analyzing and designing plans, at Exactly, we believe, we're the premier provider of the kind of the governance of these solutions, the ability to effectively analyze plans, gather data, and deliver and administer these plans most effectively, on top of other concepts like sales and revenue forecasting, management of territories and quotas, planning, sales planning, and revenue planning as well. So we have a full end-to-end solution for intelligent revenue. And so if you're ever interested in learning a little bit more about what Exactly offers and how we put what Jason has alluded to today into action, we welcome the opportunity to discuss those items with you. But with that, I appreciate everybody's time. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation, and we look forward to chatting with you more as we move forward here. So back to you, Eduardo.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Will. Thank you, audience, for attending this webinar. You will receive the recording of this session later today. The MSP team will make sure that you receive your email and all the key takeaways that you need to go and rethink your commission plan. While Jason, Will, and I hang out backstage, the MSP team will make sure, audience, that you receive everything that you need. So, speakers, we can go backstage. Audience, thank you so much. I will see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.